Campaigner-in-chief pounds the pavement, yet once again, like it's election season, he is desperately trying to push through stricter gun control laws. Now, the anointed one, with his soaring rhetoric, took his case today to the people of Minnesota and made one thing loud and clear about his gun control policies. Well, it's not a perfect solution.
There won't be perfect solutions. We're not going to save every life, but we can make a difference. And that's our responsibility as Americans. And that's what I'll do every single day, as long as I've got the honor of serving as your president.
Not a perfect solution. Now, make no mistake about what Obama's doing today. It's a blatant move to undercut the NRA. He's trying to directly appeal to their membership. And as he spoke in front of the Minneapolis Police Department, claiming gun owners support his common sense gun control measures. Now, it's senseless arguments like this that literally do nothing to advance even his cause.
If we still had a 10-round limit on magazines, for example, the gunman who shot Gabby may never have been able to inflict 33 gunshot wounds in 15 seconds. 15 seconds, 33 rounds fired. Some of the 6 people who lost their lives that day in Tucson might still be with us.
All right, there is no way that he can draw that conclusion. And, Mr. President, that is what we call rampant speculation. Now, the president is pressing for a ban on military-style firearms, universal background checks for gun buyers. By the way, something the NRA vehemently claims is nothing more than a way to punish good, law-abiding citizens.
It's a fraud to call it universal. It's never going to be universal. The criminals aren't going to comply with it. They could care less. You're not going to computerize. You've already seen you're not going to computerize the mental health records. So here's what's going to happen. We ought to quit calling it right now a universal check. The real title ought to be the check on law-abiding people all over this country.
All right, 2 things to take away from his campaign today and what was nothing short of a stunt. One, what you're seeing is an opportunistic president attempting to push through legislation that may look good, but clearly does not need to make sense. Now, number 2, this is a president who continues to have misplaced priorities. Where's the same attention? Where's the intensity when it comes to the lack of jobs and 50 million Americans on food stamps? Now, we learned last week that the economy actually was shrinking. Unemployment is back up to 7.9%. And all this news is pouring out, but here's what the president is addressing.
I'm here today because the time has come for common sense, comprehensive immigration reform. My attitude is that gays and lesbians should have access and opportunity the same way everybody else does in every institution and walk of life. The only way we can reduce gun violence in this country is if the American people decide it's important, if you decide it's important. If parents and teachers, police officers and pastors, hunters and sportsmen, Americans of every background stand up and say, this time it's got to be different.
And here, of course, with reaction, author, columnist, the one and only Coulter. By the way, did you see the picture of the president's skeet shooting, which he finally revealed? Notice, look at this picture. First of all, when you're skeet shooting, you shoot up.
Well,
Number one, he's not even holding it right.
Someone holding the clay for him. The great constitutional law scholar apparently believes the Second Amendment was because the framers of the Constitution really liked skeet shooting. No, that's not what it's about. I'm waiting for the photos of him taking birth control pills to show him fighting the war on women.
All right, let's go to what is interesting here. The president right now, all he wants to talk about is, he's talking about gay scoutmasters, apparently, accepting gay scoutmasters, gay marriage, gun control, watering down welfare requirements, abortion rights, war on women, everything but the bad economy.
Right.
Strategic, purposeful?
Yes, but I really would like to concentrate on the lies that are being repeated on the op-ed page of the New York Times and the editorials of the New York Times by the president himself. He says if we want to do something to reduce these gun shootings, all we have to do is for the American people to want to do something, like the hunters. No, we need the ACLU and the liberals who will not do anything about the mentally ill to be serious about stopping these shootings. This kid who was kidnapped in Alabama and just finally released today, that was a crazy man who took him. Everyone knew he was crazy. The American sniper, this great American male, more American shots of the enemy than any other military man. He was killed by a man with a history of mental problems.
Oh, and by the way, he listens to conservative talk radio, Ann. It must be.
Connecticut, Aurora, Tucson, these are crazy people. That is the problem. Everything they're telling you about what they can do about guns is a lie. The problem problem with universal background checks is we basically have universal background checks now. Any licensed gun dealer is performing a background check. The buyer may not know, someone at a gun show may not know, but if you are walking through a gun show, everybody's doing background checks. The only people who are not subjected to background checks are collectors giving guns to their sons, or they're selling one to their brother-in-law or something. The only way to enforce a universal, the last 0.1% of guns that are transferred by collectors and so on, is to have universal gun registration.
What about...
Wait, that's an important point.
I am listening.
For some reason, Wayne LaPierre is not making, so you're going to have to hear it from me. Universal background check means universal registration. Universal registration means universal confiscation, universal extermination. That's how it goes in history. Do not fall for universal background checks. Point two, this thing about how in the New York Times editorial page today or yesterday, and from the hearings last week, that a gun in the home is more likely to be used against the owner than to kill an intruder. Okay, just 2 points about that. The whole thing is a lie. That is because most of the ways a gun is used in the home to kill someone is suicide. That's more than 90% of those cases. You might say, well, but then having a gun means they're going to commit suicide and they wouldn't have otherwise. No, that is false. Suicide rates do not go up with the availability of guns. The Japanese, for example, have no guns. They have twice our suicide rate. You see the same thing state to state. No matter what the gun laws are, suicide rates have nothing to do with that. And finally, what, we only count a homeowner repelling an intruder if he murders him, if he kills him dead? How about if he just holds him until the police arrive? No, that doesn't count in the equation. This is a lie they are telling you in order to prevent Americans from self-defense, from protecting themselves, so that only the government has a monopoly on guns.
Let me ask you, because I think it fits with the narrative. If Obama talks about gay rights, if he talks about guns, if he talks about immigration, if he talks about climate control, then the media race to every Republican. What do you think about what Obama said? And we don't focus on the economy. One other issue.
Not only that, just to follow up on your point right there, it's not just that they're talking about it. It's that they must demonize people who are legal gun owners. And Obama, oh, look at him. He cares about the children. Screw you. You think we don't care about the children? You're the one who won't do anything about the mentally ill. Do you know mass murders have gone up astronomically in the last 30 years since the deinstitutional movement? This is as the homicide rate is going down.
No.
The homeless people have gone up. The mass shootings have gone up. Homicide rate has gone down. It is the mentally ill, and liberals won't do anything about it because of their little friends in the ACLU.
Republicans want dirty air and water, and they want kids with autism and Down syndrome to fend for themselves.
Demonizing of opponents is a problem.
I have a question. Listen, and then it goes into, for example, you got Senator Menendez is involved in potentially an underage prostitution scandal.
Right.
Okay? Being flown out by this guy that owes the IRS $11.1 million. But if he was a foot-tapping bathroom stall Republican, or if his name was Mark Foley, we'd be all over the fact that, oh, we've got a huge scandal and the culture of corruption that exists within the Republican Party. Where's the coverage of this in the mainstream media?
Well, they're giving it the John Edwards coverage.
Pretty much.
Just to say,
none.
Not covering it. Yeah. And yeah, okay, maybe it's not true, but there's certainly more evidence with these underage prostitutes themselves sending in videos and Skyping and testifying to Senator Menendez, having sex with them, flying to the Dominican Republic, all of which was broken and covered by the Daily Caller. Since you won't read about it in the New York Times, look up the Daily Caller. There's certainly more evidence for that than there was for, the claim that Romney didn't pay his taxes.
Yeah. All right, last question. There is this battle that's going on. It was in the New York Times, your favorite newspaper. Establishment Republicans want more influence, more say, want to raise more money for candidates to stop Tea Party candidates from winning elections. Now, a Tea Party candidate, for example, would be Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Well, except for Marco
is there
Rubio,
a battle coming on?
That would be a terrible mistake to stop those men. But it's also, look, I don't know. I doubt that is how they have billed their PAC. I do think that Republicans should not have run. Sharon Angle, it turns out, Christine O'Donnell, Richard Murdoch, Todd Akin. We have given up Senate seats. And look, Republicans have got to learn to stop talking about abortion and rape. Just say yes, an exception in the case of rape. And when we have problems like that, and it costs us the Senate and could cost us amnesty, didn't cost us Obamacare, we do have to be careful to get candidates who aren't going to say stupid things.
I don't know how this PAC
is being billed.
But there were other Tea Party conservatives running in that primary. It wasn't just him. All right, we got to roll. Coulter, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right.